Peace and blessings, my collective. Welcome back from the trenches to the cosmos, where we take life lessons from the trenches and align it with the wisdom of the universe. Now today, we're going to deep dive into Pluto in the 5th house. And this placement, it goes a lot deeper than romance, y'all. Creativity or attention. This is a story of a child who learned that love could disappear. This is a person who may secretly feel that if they're not special, unforgettable, desired, entertaining, or emotionally intense enough, they could lose connection. And because of that, many people with this placement spend years trying to earn love through performance, passion, seduction, creativity, status, or emotional intensity. Status validation, that is. But underneath all that, there's usually a wounded heart that never fully felt emotionally safe being ordinary. Now, people, before we begin, let's remember that this is not here to shame anyone. At Trenches to Cosmos, we don't judge survival patterns. We seek to understand them. That's all we're doing. Because many of the behaviors connected to Pluto are not signs that someone is bad. They're adaptations, psychological survival strategies. Now, let's go deeper, all right? Because the 5th house, it rules what? Creativity, romance, attention, self-expression, performance, the inner child, validation, pleasure, being admired, and the desire to feel chosen. Then, when Pluto enters this house, and Pluto intensifies everything it touches, so these individuals often experience emotions in extremes. They don't just like someone, you can become consumed by that feeling. You don't just want attention, you may unconsciously need attention to feel emotionally secure. You don't just want love, you may crave soul level intensity. Now, depending on the sign that Pluto is in, of course, this energy could express itself differently, but the core emotional wound and transformation theme still remains deeply Plutonian. And according to the psychological patterns behind this placement, many of these wounds, they begin early in life. Often, there's a deep emotional bond that's formed in childhood. It's usually with a parent or a caregiver, but eventually the child experiences some form of emotional separation. Now, this doesn't always mean abandonment in the physical sense. Sometimes the parent became emotionally unavailable. Sometimes they worked too much. Sometimes affection became inconsistent. Sometimes the child felt emotionally replaced. Sometimes independence itself felt painful. And the nervous system begins creating unconscious beliefs like, if I lose attention, if I lose love, I'm rejected. If I lose my value, I'm not unforgettable, or unforgettable, I'm abandoned. Now fast forward into adolescence and adulthood. This person may become incredibly magnetic, charismatic, creative, funny, seductive, passionate, theatrical, intense. People often feel their energy immediately. But underneath that intensity, there can be a deep fear of humiliation, rejection, emotional replacement, or not being enough. So many Plutonians in the 5th house in the 5th house begin developing emotional defense mechanisms. Some become performers, not necessarily on stage, but like emotionally. They may learn how to become the most desirable person in a room, the funniest, the sexiest, the most talented, the most unforgettable, because deep down, there's still an inner child trying to feel secure in love. And this can create powerful relationship dynamics. At first, relationships, they feel intoxicating. There's chemistry, passion, depth, intensity. But when emotional insecurity gets activated, the shadow side can emerge. Possessiveness, jealousy, emotional testing, pride, control, dramatic reactions, withdrawing even before being rejected. Sometimes they reject others first because rejection feels emotionally devastating to them. And this is important to understand, right? Because many people with this placement are not trying to manipulate others in a cartoon villain type of way. Many are unconsciously trying to avoid reliving emotional pain. That's a huge difference. This is where we bring in the psychological layer. As Gabor Mate teaches, many individuals or those with emotional patterns are they're rooted in childhood adaptation. The child adapts in order to preserve connection. So if someone learned early that being entertaining, intense, attractive, high achieving, seductive, or impressive, it helped them feel loved, the nervous system may continue chasing those patterns later on in life. That's why some people with displacement, they struggle when they're not receiving validation. Silence can feel threatening. Being ignored can feel emotionally crushing. Not being chosen can feel like emotional annihilation. And sometimes they may not even realize how deeply their self-worth is tied to external attention. Now here's the deeper irony of Pluto in the 5th house, right? Because these individuals often have enormous gifts, huge hearts, powerful creativity, magnetism, leadership, the ability to inspire people emotionally, the ability to make others feel alive. These are often the people who light up rooms, who move people emotionally, who create art from pain, who pour their soul into what they feel. But the healing begins when they stop using love and attention as proof of worth, right? That's the real transformation. Pluto is demanding here, not the depth of passion, but the depth of emotional dependency on validation. So let's talk healing. If you have Pluto in the 5th house natally, or Pluto transiting your 5th house, here are 3 powerful places to begin the healing process. Number 1, separate attention from self-worth. Just because someone is distant, distracted, or unavailable, it doesn't mean you are unlovable. Your worth cannot depend on applause, praise, validation, or being constantly chosen. Number 2, practice vulnerability without performance, right? Many people with displacement, they learn how to appear strong, desirable, funny, impressive, or emotionally powerful. But healing begins when you allow yourself to be emotionally honest without needing to control how you're perceived. And number 3, create from authentic joy instead of emotional survival. Create because it lights up your soul. Love because your heart genuinely wants connection. Express yourself because it's real, not because you're trying to secure your worth. That's when Pluto transforms emotional chaos into emotional power. And this is important. Pluto's not trying to destroy your heart. It's trying to purge the fear attached to it. So underneath all the control, all the pride, all the intensity, all the performance, there's usually someone who simply wanted to feel deeply loved without fear of rejection. And that's why the future Chiron series is going to be so important, because Pluto exposes the wound, but the Chiron teaches us how to alchemize that wound into wisdom, compassion, self-awareness, and true emotional healing. So look forward to that. From the trenches to the cosmos, stay blessed, and I'll see you next time.